Welcome to my Idaho cabin, where the elk and deer run free. Welcome to my Idaho cabin, hope you spend a little time with me.
Hi everybody, this is Rick. Welcome to my Idaho cabin. Tonight I'm going to make you an old-timey recipe. And by old-timey, I mean that when I was a kid, I remember this recipe. My mom used to make it for us. Anyway, it's called Salisbury Steak. And this version is going to have mushroom gravy, mashed potatoes, and I'm going to do some oven roasted asparagus on the side. So stick around, I think you'll enjoy this one. Before I start preparing the Salisbury steak, I'm going to roast some garlic, because I'm going to add the roasted garlic to the mashed potatoes. I'm going to do it a little bit differently than I normally do. I wanted to try it this way. So here's what we do. To roast the garlic, the first thing we have to do is cut approximately 1/4 inch off the top of the clove, leaving the heads exposed. Then we will take a piece of aluminum foil and put the garlic in there, and then we'll put about 2 tablespoons or so of olive oil over the top, and then fold it up and seal it. Seal it nice and tight. Now this will roast in a 425 degree oven for about 45 to 55 minutes until it's nice and tender. Okay, for the ingredients for this recipe, we're going to put 1 clove of garlic into 2 pounds of meat. So there's a half. There's about 1 clove of garlic. That'll do it. That'll do that. Then we're going to put 1/4 cup of chili sauce. This happens to be garlic flavored chili sauce. Then we're going to put 2 tablespoons of stone ground mustard. Close enough. 1 cup of Panko, 1 small onion diced small, 2 eggs to act as a binder, and if you're thinking this is looking like a meatloaf, you're right. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and just because I think it won't hurt, it's not in the recipe, but I'm going to put a little shot of Worcester in there too. That's always good. And a little salt and pepper to taste. And now we'll mix this up. And then when it's all nicely mixed up, we'll form it into 6 loaves or patties, kind of football shaped, oblong and thick. So when we get to that point, when I get these loaves shaped, I'll get right back with you. Okay, there are the Salisbury steaks ready to go into a medium hot cast iron skillet. I have 2 tablespoons of lard melting in my 12-inch cast iron skillet. And when that gets all melted, then I'm going to put the steaks in there, and I'm not going to move them. I want them to crust up, because they're going to be cooking in the gravy a little bit later. But right now, all I'm going to do is put a crust on both sides of the Salisbury steaks. So when I'm ready to put them in, I'll bring you back. Okay, the pan ought to be plenty hot. Yep. So we're going to put these in here. And not move them at all. Says he. And we're going to let them get nice and crusty on one side. So when we get to that point, I'll bring you back and show you what I mean. Okay, now I'm going to turn these babies over. Oh, they could use a little bit darker, but we can keep flipping them without any problem. And what we want to do is get the outside well browned, and then they're going to finish cooking in the gravy. So we'll let those cook a little bit more, and then I'll bring you back when they're done. Well, there are the Salisbury steaks all browned up, and 1 pound of sliced mushrooms. They're going to go in the skillet right now and start making the gravy. There's 1 pound of sliced mushrooms in the skillet. I drained a little of the oil out, but most of the goodies are still there, and I definitely left the fond in down at the bottom because we're going to pick that up in a little while, and that'll really make a nice savory gravy. Okay, the mushrooms have now very nicely sweated down, and I'm just adding some garlic, a clove of garlic. I'm going to mix that around. Get that all nicely incorporated. And now I'm going to sprinkle 3 tablespoons of flour into the mushrooms. And then we'll mix that in and get all the flour well mixed and incorporated into the liquid that's still in the bottom of the skillet and onto the mushrooms. And then we'll make our gravy. The gravy, the liquid for the gravy is a bottle of Guinness beer and a cup of beef broth. And I might just throw a little port wine in just for the hell of it, because there's nothing wrong with a little wine in a gravy. So, okay. Now we'll add this in here. A little slowly and stirring constantly. And that should start to make gravy, and that flour will thicken it up. It'll make like a roux. You want to keep stirring this. Anytime you're making a gravy, you want to keep stirring it to keep it from lumping on you. Get down there. You always want to add flour at the start. You never want to use flour for a thickening agent and pour it in at just the last, because it'll clog up and it just will not cook down. So you put the flour in first, and then if you need more thickening, then use a cornstarch slurry, but don't use flour after it's all cooked and thickened. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let that cook down just a little bit more, and then when it's thickened up just a little bit, I'm going to put the Salisbury steaks in here and let them simmer in the mushroom gravy and do the final cook. I have returned the Salisbury steaks to the gravy, and now I've settled them in there, so now I'm going to put a little bit of the gravy on the top and the mushrooms, and we'll just let it sit here and we'll to finish cooking. We have some rocks in the roadway, so if you're hearing that background noise, that's the fire department radio, police department radio. Anyway, there's the Salisbury steaks, and now we'll just let them sit here and gently simmer and cook until they get to about 135, 145 in the center, and then we'll call it good. And there you are, Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, mushroom gravy, and oven roasted asparagus. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, but before I continue with this, I'd like to introduce you to the newest member of my family. This is Molly. She's a 7 or 8 year old Cocker Spaniel, and she's just the sweetest little thing. She likes to sleep on the couch a lot. She's not too rambunctious, so she fits in very nicely with the mountain lifestyle. Well, thank you. Getting my hands washed. And this is Molly in her normal place where she just loves to lay down and sleep during the day. Well, thank you for watching another episode of My Idaho Cabin. I hope you enjoyed this video. And the Salisbury steaks were really, really good. I love that mushroom gravy. When you plate this up, you just put a mound of mashed potatoes in the middle of the plate, and then lean a Salisbury steak up against it, and then pour mushroom gravy over everything. And a nice green vegetable on the side really makes it perfect. So I hope you enjoyed it, and remember, the recipe is right down here. And if you like these videos, if you would, click on the subscribe button and the bell if you want to be notified whenever I make a new video. And click on the like button too if you like these. So thanks again, and again, this is Rick at My Idaho Cabin.
Welcome to my Idaho cabin, where the elk and deer run free. Welcome to my Idaho cabin. Thanks for spending time with